What's your best time of writing? Morning, afternoon, late afternoon?
Well, I like to be in mourning when I'm writing. It suits my topics.
Good answer.
Good question.
Joining us today, Gore Vidal. Gore, we're in the hills of Hollywood. Thank you for having us.
Well, that's a curious verb, but anyway, you are here. And you obviously had a treat in driving through these beautiful hills.
Indeed.
There's ugly architecture everywhere you look. It's rather miraculous. There isn't a good-looking house anywhere along here. People in real estate trying to sell their gorgeous homes. They only have homes here. They don't have houses. But they have homes. And it's so wonderful. And everybody doesn't know his neighbor, which is wonderful. To have achieved that is no wonder Obama's having a difficult time with community as part of his menu for the United States. We must communize a bit. No, he's not a communist. He's not a communist.
He's a socialist.
Well, he's not much of a social climber. Now, there were two social climbers he threw out when they went to his party for the Prime Minister of India.
Ah.
They became stars, and he went under a cloud for a little time, you know. What's wrong with him? We all want to have social climbers in our houses. That's why we have houses. Maybe we don't want them in our homes.
Right.
So important.
Right.
Am I saying enough stupid things?
Oh, Gore, come on. You
Gore,
could never say enough stupid things.
Good.
No, please.
That's a challenge.
Please, you know, then you would have nobody to defend yourself against.
Mm-hmm.
Are you reading any new authors that
No.
tickle your fancy? No.
No.
No? What are you reading as of late?
As of late, I am reading, there's a marvelous historian of the early days of the Republic who's published a new book called The Empire of Liberty, which is a quotation from Thomas Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Rather optimistic, I would have thought. What we are is an empire of blood and steel, just like Bismarck. We're an empire of power. But he said this way back at the time of the Louisiana Purchase. He didn't expect the place to go the way it did. But you're in the hills. I wonder what Jefferson would have thought. Jefferson was so ambiguous, you know, you're never quite sure where you are with him. And because he was never sure what he was doing. Is he preaching life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? That was the newest thought in the world of constitution making, in the world of empire building. That would be important. It meant the average person must be important. There's nobody who was ever born that we know of who did not want to pursue in one way or another happiness, which made our Constitution unique, which is why the Europeans at least pretended to love it in the 1840s, 50s, 60s, by which time we were engaged in the Civil War, which turned everybody off, except one person. Chancellor Bismarck of Germany. He sent observers over to study our Civil War, which he then enacted an order to break the back of France, which he proceeded to do. And often talked about it. He said, oh, American Civil War. First submarines, he said, first submarines Good idea, good idea. I had them. And then Fritzie, I told Fritzie about those long cannons. They were extraordinary.
What was it what was your calling to history as a young man? Was it your grandfather's
Well, of course, it
life?
was my grandfather. My grandfather made Wilson president twice, 1912, 1916. Came to loathe him both times. And the second time, it was just faute de mieux. There wasn't anything else he could do.
When you were developing your craft as a writer, your early works.
Around the house, we call it art.
Art, okay.
It's a shorter word.
Thanks. Thanks, Gore.
Yeah.
Your early work like Messiah. Mm-hmm. Well, what was it about Messiah, that story that resonated? Was it the TV evangelism that was being born of the day that you were reacting to?
I was very curious about what was the mood of the country. I spent 3 years in the Army, mostly in the Pacific. I never heard a patriotic word from the bravest generation, the greatest generation. We may have been great, but it's what our tolerance for nonsense was pretty great too. And we heard nothing from our leaders, except the great Roosevelt. This generation of Americans has a rendezvous with destiny. That was the greatest of them all. I mean, insincerity enveloped him like a nimbus. You can shoot a nimbus all around me. It'll accustom the audience.
And how about Churchill?
Oh, a phony.
We last time we met, we talked about educating our young, and you felt the real heroes of America were the school teachers. You still feel that way?
Magari, as we say in Italy. Would that it were so, yeah.
Right. Have you met any recently? I know that on occasion you do.
I do meet them, yeah. But the best, of course, are university teachers. And,
Right.
Even they get, totally frozen in their ways. And what happens is they want to be poets, playwrights, novelists. Then they settle for a job because they get married too soon and they have children and so on. And they end up in universities. Then they start to think of themselves, what drove me crazy for a while when I got very anti-academic. University academics, they thought they were intellectuals. I mean, none of them had ever read a book voluntarily, unless they saw tenure at the end of it,
You have tenure, I'll afford it.
No tenure, I.
But no, with the internet and everything, Gore, I mean, everyone has an opinion, everyone has a blog. Where can you even find the truth today? Where do you find the truth?
Well, don't look, and then you'll be quite happy.
Everyone's opinion matters, and yet nothing makes any sense.
Well, look, there's a con game called democracy. The United States has never tried democracy politically, and it shows no sign of ever doing that. But they can't stop babbling it. The greatest democracy in the history of the world, well, that, so far as I know, is India. It's certainly not this
Really?
can of worms, no. What's democratic here?
How about a parliamentary system where we have more party options?
Well, the Brits have a better system than we do, but that's about it. I mean, we don't go around the world looking at other places because we know we're perfect. Try and say that in a school or a high school. The British system is better than the American system. You will be attacked. You see, not having an educational system, and not even knowing what education is, you end up with the blind.
Well, there you have it. From the hills of Hollywood. Gore, thank you. As always, dull and boring.
Thank you for your questions, always boring and dull.